Hey everyone, happy Saturday. I hope that this finds you healthy. We're about to start an all levels yoga class. If you have any props, go ahead and grab them. I have a block I'm going to use today, but you don't need a block. You could use, a couch, you could use a book, whatever you have handy. You may also want a blanket or a strap. This is good to have options. So once you've gathered your things, go ahead, find your way to your mat. And we're going to start today just lying on our back with our feet in by our butt, knees bent. Arms are going to open up out to the side. And take a second here to close your eyes and start to tune into your breath. Laying on your back in this position is one of the best ways to kind of sink into your innate ability to relax. Your postural muscles get to turn off in this position, so your body will automatically just feel a little more at ease. So take a few rounds of breath here without changing it yet. Just noticing the quality of your breath, scanning your body, noticing any places that might feel uncomfortable, noticing anything that feels just a little less free, or maybe the opposite. Maybe you feel extra just relaxed and loose. And then we're going to start to incorporate a little more deep breathing, engage a little more fully with our breath. So see if you can find a breath that fills you up like a balloon, front to back and out to the sides, filling from the bottom all the way up to the top of your chest. And as you exhale, think about exhaling from the bottom up, feeling your core engage fully at the end of the exhale. So do a few more rounds of breath like that. And I actually invite you to put your hands on your ribs. So my thumbs are going to kind of go into the back of my rib cage. My fingers are going to wrap around. And see if you can actually feel your breath causing this lateral expansion of your ribs. And as you exhale, see if you can feel that drawing in. You can even give it a little help with your hands. One more round of breath like that. Full exhale. And then just release. Go back to your normal breathing pattern. We're going to take this into a combination of that same breath with a hip bridge. So as we lift our hips, we're going to press into our heels, lift our hips. Inhale, arms are going to come overhead. We're going to hold this position. So I'm not thinking a bridge where I'm in a back bend, but more of a hip bridge where my ribs and pelvis are in line. So here I am with that inhale. Then I want to find that exhale that engages my entire core. And then bring it on down. We're going to do that a couple more times. Inhale, we come up and over. And with that exhale, we're exhaling so fully that we're feeling our entire abdominal wall knit together. Our ribs come down. Our spine lengthens. Go ahead and release. We're going to do one more like that. Inhale, arms come up overhead. Exhale. Hold and release down. So we've already started to activate our core just through accessing our breath. We're going to add on to that with a little bit of a twisting action, and I actually invite you to use a block for this if you have one. Otherwise you can just do it with your knees together, but I find that having a block really keeps my knees in line and it keeps my pelvis in line. So I'm putting this kind of on the narrower position, and I'm going to squeeze it between my legs. My arms are going to go out to the side like a goalpost. And as I inhale, finding that expansion in 360 degrees, inhaling, my knees drop over to the side. As low as I can control. Then I exhale, finding that core connection to drill me back up. Over to the other side. Inhale. Exhale. That drawing in is pulling me up. If you want to make this a little more challenging, you can always straighten your legs as well. Inhale, dropping my knees down only as far as I can control. Exhale. Back up. One more time to the other side. Inhale. Exhale. Connecting to my core as I come back up. Good. Go ahead and release that. If you had a block, you can go ahead and put it off to the side. Go ahead and grab your knees. Give yourself a little hug. You're going to rock side to side. And then start to rock forward to back, massaging through your spine, rolling up, rolling back, just rolling like a ball. And find that this rolling like a ball starts to get larger as you roll yourself all the way up and onto all fours. Find a nice, comfortable position here. Hands, wrists under shoulders, legs, knees under hips. And then we're going to go into some rounds of cat and cow, arching as we inhale, lift our head. Exhale, pushing the ground away, rounding through our spine. Slowly going through this range, connecting to our breath. Couple more rounds here. One more. And after this one, we're going to find ourselves back to a neutral spine. So in a neutral spine, we don't want to be too arched. We don't want to be too rounded. We just want just a natural soft curve to the back here. So we want to maintain this kind of low back curve without it changing. And we're going to play with just moving our shoulder blades. So this can be a little tricky. So if you feel like you don't quite have it, that's okay. It's one of those ones that can take a while to really feel in your body. But we're going to work on just moving our shoulder blades kind of forward and then towards each other. So as I sink my chest down, my shoulder blades come towards each other. So I push away, they kind of wrap around the side of my rib cage. And I'm trying not to have this movement happen from my spine. It's just coming from my shoulder blades. My arms are straight. So we're sort of flossing our shoulders, letting our heart sink down, shoulder blades come together, press away, shoulder blades come apart. So go for a few more rounds here, especially if you feel like you're having a hard time kind of feeling this movement. Just allow yourself to even start to try, like just starting that conversation, and you'll find that it gets easier with time. And then go ahead and find yourself back to just a neutral position. If your toes aren't already tucked under, go ahead and do that as we lift our hips back. Press the ground away, downward facing dog. Pedal your feet out. You can wiggle around a little bit here. Just saying hello to your first downward facing dog of the day. And then take a second to really bend your knees and allow yourself to come a little more forward. We're going to play with sort of that same movement we did on all fours, but now we're going to be thinking about our shoulder blades going up and down. So I'm going to allow my arm bones to kind of sink down, and then I'm going to push the ground away. Sinking down, pushing away. Just playing with this range of motion in our shoulders. Keep those knees bent. We really want to just not even worry about our lower body right now. Now for this next time when you're really pushing the ground away, see if you can push your hips back as well. Really lengthen your spine. And then from this length, we're going to start to push the backs of our thighs straight. If they don't go straight, or if you notice that when you start to straighten your legs, this happens, then just keep them bent. And really work on that, finding that length. So wherever you're at, take a couple deep breaths here. And then gently walk your feet to your hands. Soften your knees. Clasp opposite elbows and just let yourself hang in ragdoll. So here I'm letting my spine round. I'm not trying to hold tension in anything. I'm just letting it all go. Swaying side to side. Shaking my head yes. Shaking my head no. And then slowly, 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 I'm going to start to roll all the way up. Arms overhead. Exhale, hands to heart center. Good. You should already be feeling a little more energized. We're going to add on with a couple of just half sun salutations. We're going to reach up, inhale. Exhale, hands through heart center, hips go back. Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Inhale, lift, lengthen. So when you lengthen, also be aware if your head does this. It's pretty common because you want to look forward, but see if you can keep your neck lengthened as well. Then forward bend all the way, lifting up. A couple more of these. Inhale. Exhale, hands through heart center, hips go back. Inhale, halfway lift, extend, long neck, long spine. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, press through your feet all the way up to standing. One more time, inhale. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale, halfway lift, extend. And this time, as we exhale, we're going to step our right foot back. So find yourself in this sort of low lunge position. And this might be a spot where you might want to block. It's going to be your choice. If you find yourself really hunched over in this, give yourself some lift. Otherwise, press your feet into the ground, lengthen out through your spine. Then my right hand's going to come down to the ground, or a block, and I'm going to twist open towards my left leg, reaching up and away. Big inhale. And as I exhale, this arm is going to come down. I'm going to deepen this twist. I'm going to bring it back to center. Hands are going to frame my foot. Step back, plank. Take a second in your plank. Press the ground away. Squeezing your legs together. And then you can drop to your knees, or not, slow lower down to the ground. Hands come by your chest. Take a second here to find a little bit of a lift through the front of your shoulders. So we're thinking broad through our collarbones. And then softness. We don't want our shoulders up by our ears. Using the muscles of your upper back, lift your chest up only as high as you can go without pressing your hands into the ground. Hold this, take a breath, and then allow your hands to help come a little higher up in your cobra. Pull your palms back towards your feet. See if you can pull your chest through just a little more. And then exhale, down to the ground, push up and back, downward facing dog. Take a big full breath here. Press the mat away. Find that push with your upper body. As you inhale, step your right foot forward into a low lunge. finding that press through both feet, long spine, right arm reaches up, twist towards the bent knee. Big inhale, finding that expansion through my ribs. Exhale, deepening into this twist. Coming back, stepping forward, standing forward bend. Press the ground away, all the way up to standing, big reach. Exhale, hands to heart center. Take a second here to tune back in with your breath. Just notice how you're feeling. Notice how maybe the blood in your body is already feeling a little more kind of pumped through. You're feeling a little more of a rapid heartbeat, a little more warmth in your body. And release your hands down by your side. We're going to inhale, reach up. Exhale, coming down, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift, extend. Exhale, hands to the ground, stepping my right foot back. Coming down, my back knee to the ground, kneeling low lunge. So in this low lunge, I'm actually going to keep my palms facing the ground. And I'm going to lift up with my hands, my palms facing away from me as I come into a low lunge. Your choice if you want to make this more into a back bend or not. Sometimes it just feels good to really open up like that. Wherever you're at, take a big breath. And then exhale, hands to the ground, step back, plank position. From plank position, lower your knees to the ground. I'm going to come down onto my elbows. So we're going to do dolphin pose, which is basically forearm, downward facing dog on your forearms. If you notice that when you do dolphin pose or anything on your forearms that your shoulders like to round, then I'm going to invite you to actually do this with your palms facing up and out away from each other, just to give you a little more openness through your shoulder girdle. Wherever you're at, hands to the ground, pressing away. If you remember what we did with our shoulder flossing, you kind of want to start with that pressing away, lifting my hips. And even here, this might be enough. If you want to bring it up a notch, then you start to walk your feet in. Notice if as you walk your feet in, you start to shift or round, and just play with it a little more, with a little more ease. And even here, you can play with that lifting out of your shoulders. This is a great way to really start to build some strength in your shoulder girdle. Because really, if you were going to take this into a forearm stand, you'd want that strong press the whole time. One more breath here. Release it down. Take a quick child's pose. One breath here. And bring it up. Lower yourself all the way down to your belly. Hands by your side. We're going to do a combination of cobra with locust. So it's really going to warm up our back body. So first, as I come into cobra, I'm lifting through my back. Lowering down as I exhale. And then coming into locust right at the bottom. Immediately I'm drawing into my belly. Exhale as I lift up. Hold. I'm squeezing my legs towards each other. My hands right now are more in this goalpost. If this is uncomfortable, they can be here. Or if you really want to challenge yourself, they can be here. Lower on down. A couple more times like this. Lifting up into that cobra. Pulling your chest through. Lowering down. Finding your locust. Arms, legs, chest. See if you can lift a little higher. Whole body engagement. Release one more time. Cobra. Coming down. Your version of locust. Squeezing your legs. Finding that lift through your upper back so that you're not just crunching into your lower back. One more breath. Release. Let it go. Give yourself a little bit of windshield wiper. Wipe the slate clean. And then press into your hands. Lift up and back. Downward facing dog. Take a breath in your dog. Settle in. And then lift your right leg behind you. One-legged dog. So right now my hips are square to the ground. My foot is pressing up behind me. From here I'm going to bend this knee and allow this hip to open. So when this happens, I'm going to try to fight my upper body opening by really pressing into my right hand. You can stay here, or if you love to do back bends, you can actually let this top foot flip over. Take this into Wild Thing, which is a beautiful and fun back bend. Pressing through your feet, lifting your hips, opening your heart. Wherever you're at, keep that connection to your breath. If you're in Wild Thing, go ahead and come on out of it. Back to one-legged dog. Bring it down to the ground. Other side. So I'm starting with one-legged dog. My left foot lifts up and back. Finding my one-legged dog. Holding that before I bend that knee, opening my hip. Pressing into my left hand a little more. Staying here and really just feeling that hip opening, or dropping this foot down, coming onto my right hand, lifting into Wild Thing. One more breath. If you're in Wild Thing, bring your hands back down, flip yourself back over. One-legged dog, bring your left foot down. Right foot steps forward, left knee drops. Lift into that low lunge with our palms facing away. Big breath in. With your exhale, allow a nice sigh. One more. And then exhale, hands to the mat. Step forward, forward bend. Press through your feet all the way up to standing. Exhale, hands to heart center. Take a second here to close your eyes and tune in with your body again. Especially if you did those back bends. Back bends are so energizing. You should really feel just a rush of blood and air coming through you right now. So moving on, we're going to go into chair pose. And I'm going to do this chair pose with my feet a little bit apart instead of feet all the way together, but you get to choose how your chair pose looks like and what feels best in your body. So as you sit back into your chair pose, arms come in front, spine long, really push those hips back. See if you can go a little lower, see if I can push my hips back even more, trying to find a little bit of that cobra in my upper back. One more breath. Exhale, Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Inhale, step back into a plank pose. Hold for a second here. Spine long, core engaged. Slow lower all the way down to your belly. Your choice here now, another cobra, or lift your shoulders up, come onto your feet, upward facing dog. Big inhale, exhale, push your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale your right foot up behind you, one-legged dog. Exhale, step that through into a lunge. My left foot here is going to turn down to the ground at a 45-degree angle from the back of my mat. From there, I'm going to press my feet into the ground, lift up, warrior one. So in warrior one, we want our hips square to the front. You don't want them open like you would in warrior two. So sometimes you need to adjust your stance to accommodate that. So kind of find your warrior one. From there, lift your arms up. Big inhale, finding that expansion through your ribs. Exhale, hands interlace. Pull your arms away. One more inhale, lengthen. As you exhale, we're going to come forward into humble warrior. So my chest is coming over this leg, and I'm still pulling this leg back. I don't want this hip to start to round in as I come forward. And go as low as you want. If you're bendy like me, this is going to be way easier because I'm resting than right here. So, if you want to challenge yourself, really kind of hold this at the spot where you have to really engage. Make sure you're still breathing. One more breath here. With your exhale, bring your left hand to the mat. Your right leg that's bent in front is going to start to do this little shimmy towards this long side of your mat so that your foot's perpendicular. Back leg is going to turn onto its side. We're now in a variation of side plank. So I'm pressing through this front leg, pressing into the side of that foot, pressing the mat away, reaching up. Option to stay here, or you can stack your feet. In any way, they can be here, they can be here. Wherever you're at, see if you can find a little more lift through your waist. One more breath. And exhale, both hands to the mat. Press back, downward facing dog. Take a deep breath. Let it go. One more. One more side. Left leg lifts, steps through. Right foot turns down to the mat, 45 degrees. Lifting up, warrior one. Adjust your stance. Warrior one often needs to be a little closer in than some of the other warriors. Bending into that front knee. Reaching up, hands interlace. This time do your hands the opposite way. So whichever hand was on top, switch it the other direction, the one that feels kind of weird. And then reach away as you come forward into humble warrior. Pressing into that foot, finding that connection from foot to hip to core. One more breath here. And bring your right hand down. We're going into side plank on the other side. So now it's going to be my left foot that kind of shimmies around. My right foot that comes onto the side. I'm still pressing the ground away with my right arm. Finding my side plank. If I did so on the other side, stacking my feet. Wherever you're at, find that lift through your side waist. Beautiful. Hands to the ground. Push back, downward facing dog. Bend your knees deeply. Send your butt back. And then you can either walk or hop between your hands. Sit your hips down low. Lift your arms up high. Chair pose. Deep breath, inhale. Exhale, finding that connection. Pressing through your heels all the way up. Hands to heart center. Take a second here, kind of wiggle it off. That's kind of an intense little sequence. We're going to be moving on to even more. So I am going to adjust this real quick. And I'm going to face you for this next one, just so you can see what I'm doing. But this is the way I would recommend doing it, is on the long side of your mat. So we're actually going to start by pushing into your left leg, feeling that kind of length all the way up as we bring our right foot up into tree pose. Take a second here to find your tree. Foot pressing into thigh, thigh pressing into foot. One more breath. And then I'm going to turn back this way, but you're still in tree pose. My knee is going to come in now. So I'm in kind of more of a knee forward position as I send this foot back behind me into a warrior three. Now remember, balance is always so tricky, so it's okay to use support while you're working on this. One more breath here, and then slowly, slowly, slowly reaching that foot back as slow as you can go, coming into a high lunge. Arms lift up, open up into warrior two. Left foot to the front, right foot behind. And again, here, adjust your stance. You want a nice wide position so that you can bend deeply into this front leg. And then notice if your knee likes to do this sort of traveling towards the center. If that happens, really push your heel into the ground and think about using your hip muscles to pull that knee back. From here, settle in to your warrior two. Reaching your arms away. We're going to hinge over this front knee, coming in to side angle. So you have options here in side angle. You can be on a forearm, you can be on a block, whatever suits you. Opening up, reaching away. Option to sweep this arm under and go into extended side angle. Option here then to do a half bind, where my hand just wraps around, or a full bind, where this arm comes in front, reaches around, meets my hands, lifting up through my chest. If you're in a full bind and you want a little more challenge, we're going to play with a transition to bird of paradise. Even if this is not in your practice, sometimes it's fun just to give it a try and see where it goes. But just know, this one can take some practice to get to. So I'm here in my full bind side angle, and I'm going to start to step forward. So I'm actually going to turn towards you so you can see me. So now my feet are in parallel. I'm going to press into my right foot as I start to lift my leg. I'm still in this bind. You might stay here, work on your balance, find your drishti, that steady gaze. Once you find that steady gaze and you want to move on, you can start to lift that leg straight. One more breath. And then slowly, 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 the way we came in. Woo, that's the hard part, is controlling it back down. And then I'm going to step it back, finding myself back in that side angle, back in my warrior two. So if that one seemed a little out of reach, no worries. This is all levels, so pick your own adventure. From here, toes forward, legs wide. Inhale, reach up, find length. Exhale, send your hips back. Prasarita, Padottanasana, wide-legged forward bend. Take a second to inhale, expand, lift. Maybe you have your block here. Exhale, come a little deeper. Inhale, bring your hands to your hips, extend your spine out, and exhale, lift all the way back up. Turning your left foot back out, finding your way back to Warrior Two. From here, I'm pivoting around, so I'm more in a high lunge again. And we're going to go into pyramid pose, so I'm actually going to kind of readjust my stance, because both of our legs are going to be straight, and you want to make sure that your feet aren't on a tightrope here. You want space for your pelvis. So I like to think pelvis hip width apart in this. Left leg straight in front, right leg behind. Inhale, reach up, and exhale, start to come forward. So I like this position. Some people like to have their hands behind their back. You might even want blocks. Coming forward, keeping this length in my spine as long as I can until I find a spot where I can sink into this. Things to be aware of. What's your pelvis up to? You want to keep it square to the ground. You don't want it rotating in funny ways. So I'm actually going to grab my block for this next position. We're going to go into revolved triangle. And I find this to be a challenging pose. And so I really invite you to try to use a block for it. So we're in pyramid. I'm going to bring my block to the inside of my left foot, my hand onto the block, and I'm going to press away, pulling this left leg back into my pelvis, finding that length first, and then rotating towards that bent leg. Keeping my pelvis as square as possible. One more breath. Exhale, release back down to the ground. You can keep your block here if you like, because from here, we're going to bend into this left leg, walk my hands forward a little. Maybe they're going to come to my block, and I'm going to lift up this back leg. Standing split. This might be where you go with your standing split, and this is a great place to be and build strength. If you want to take it up a notch, you could press into that foot. Big inhale, and as you exhale, lift this back leg. Bring your hands in towards your foot. One more breath. And release it, start to release it back to sort of this Warrior Three position. And then slow, slow, slow down. Find yourself in a high lunge. Big inhale. As you exhale, right arm comes down to the mat. Left leg shimmies over. We're going back to that side plank we already have done. So you get to choose, do I stay here in the sort of supported side plank? Do I stack my feet? Or if you want to try another variation, you can do tree. You can do sort of a star pose. Or you can grab your toe and lift from there. Wherever you're at, hold for one more breath. Release your hand to the ground, press back, downward facing dog. This might be a good time to take a child's pose if you want. I'm going to take one really quick. Take a breath, let it go. Back up to downward dog. Bending my knees, hopping between my hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward bend. Inhale all the way up to standing. And release. One more side to go with all of that. This is definitely an energizing practice today. So if you're like, man, this is a lot. Just know that's okay. Just take it at your own pace. Get yourself water. Take child pose breaks whenever you need. So we're starting. This time, pushing into our right foot. Pressing the ground away. From there, coming into our tree pose. Find your tree. Foot presses into thigh, thigh meets it. Feeling how balance is this coordination of all these parts. Our hips, our thighs, our mind, our breath. The knee comes towards the front as we slowly start to kick back into warrior three. Holding it just for a second. Reaching that foot back as it slowly comes down to the mat. That wasn't so slow, but that's okay. That's what happens sometimes. Lifting up, high lunge. Now I'm going to switch positions so that you can see me when I turn into warrior two. So we were in high lunge. We're opening up warrior two. Settle into your warrior two. Find that nice long stance. Nice bend in this front knee. Make sure you're activating through the outside of your hip. Find a soft breath. Gazing over your right hand. This inhale, I'm going to pivot over this front leg, bringing my forearm to my knee, to a block, wherever you want to go with this today. Left arm lifts, and then maybe it comes across, stretching through the side, extended side angle. Then maybe you want to take it into a half bind, or if you did this on the other side, a full bind. We're going to go towards bird of paradise again. So I'm going to do it facing you guys. So as I bring my feet together, this time I'm pushing into my left foot as I come up to stand. Slowly. Finding this lift in my chest. Finding my soft, steady gaze. Staying here or pressing this foot away, opening up into bird of paradise. One more breath if you're still here with me. And slow, slow, slow. Can you control it just as steadily on the way down as you did on the way up? That's the tricky part. And then stepping back, finding your side angle, lifting up, back to warrior two. Feet pivot, we're back to our wide-legged forward bend. Lifting as we inhale, arms out wide, interlaced. So we exhale, bringing our arms overhead. One more breath here. So you can find a little bit of length. And with your next exhale, see if you can go a little deeper. Release your arms. Halfway lift. Hands to hips. Press into the ground to come all the way back up. Turning back to your warrior two with your right leg in the front. Pivoting to that high lunge, and then finding that stance that's a little more hip width apart as we go into pyramid. So again, I'm going to grab my block because we're also going to do revolve triangle on this side. So starting, making sure I have space for my pelvis to move. I'm going to lift my left arm up as I come over my right leg. My right leg is pulling back as I come forward. Wherever I stop, whether it's on a block or, up here or all the way down to the ground. Find a second to really just breathe into the stretch. And remember, if this stretch feels so intense that you can't breathe, then that's a clue for you to maybe not take it there. Allow yourself a place where you can feel the sensation without it feeling like it's putting you in this compressed shell. We want to invite movement into our bodies by working with it, not against it. So from here, we're going to go into revolved triangle. So I've got my block here again. My left arm is going to come to the top. I'm going to extend, lift out of my spine, long spine, pressing the ground away with my shoulder. Then twisting open towards my right leg. One more breath here. And exhale, release it down. We're going back into standing splits. So if you wanted to use your block again, just kind of move it forward a little bit. Otherwise, start to bend into this front knee. Lifting this back leg up. Staying here is a great option. If you want to add on and it feels good in your body, then press the ground away with an inhale. And with an exhale, find that core engagement that can really allow this to happen in a strong, integrated way. One more breath. And then slow, 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 slow. Reaching that foot back until you find yourself in a high lunge. And I'm going to switch the other direction again because we're about to go into our side plank on the other side. So this time my left arm is reaching down. Right foot is turning out. Left foot, or right foot. I know my right from my left, I swear. Left leg is long. If you did so on the other side, stack your feet. And then it's your turn to find your variation. Tree pose side plank, star side plank. You can grab your big toe and open it up, full Vasisthasana. One more breath. Wherever you're at, come out of it slow and with control. Or sometimes not. That happens too. Release it down. Drop to your knees. Bring them wide. Wide leg child's pose. Take a breath here. Wiggle it out. Let it all go. And slowly make your way up. Come onto a seated position. And if you have a block, it's a great time to use it again. We're going to come into bridge pose. And we're actually going to start in a supported bridge. If you have a block. If you don't have a block, then don't worry about it. You don't have to be in supported bridge. But I'm going to put this block right in my sacrum, which is this nice triangular bone at the base of my spine, right here in the back of my pelvis. So I'm going to put it right under there and just let it rest. And then just take a second to just let it go here in bridge pose. One more breath of just releasing in supported bridge. And then start to kind of drag your heels into the ground. They're not going to move, but that action of dragging your heels back, you're going to feel the backs of your legs start to turn on a little bit. Keep that as you lift your hips up. If you're on your block, you can move it out. You can stay here, or you can start to wiggle your arms under and come into more of a full bridge pose. Squeeze your legs together. You can stay here, or you can bring your arms pointing towards you, back behind you, lifting up, Urdhva Dhanurasana, upward facing bow. All of these options are good options. Pick the one that works in your body. Wherever you're at, take one more breath. And then slow control, especially if you're in Urdhva Dhanurasana, slowly control it back down to the ground. Release. Give yourself a little hug. Then roll yourself all the way to seated. Bring your legs long in front of you. We're going to practice Dandasana, our staff pose. And it might not look like you're doing much in a staff pose, but it's actually a very active pose. We're thinking about pressing down with the tops of our thighs while lifting up through our spine and our chest. So there's these opposing actions of pressing down and rising up. So I recommend if your arms can really press into the ground, you can do that. I like to be by my fingertips. It gives me a little more lift in my chest. But I'm going to lift, pressing away, pressing my thighs into the ground. And breathing. This is a great pose to do after back bends because it really kind of sets your femurs back in your hip sockets after doing some of these back bends that can kind of push it forward sometimes. So it's a great counter pose for deeper back bends. From here, I'm going to bring my right leg, bring it in, and step it across. So if you find that when you step your leg across here, that your foot can't really touch the ground, or it feels like everything's lifting up, then just go ahead and leave your leg here. Otherwise, right arm reaches out, comes behind. Left arm reaches up, inhale. Exhale, twisting towards this right leg, grabbing the outside of the knee or elbow to inside of the knee. Wherever you're at, find that inhale that expands your ribs out to the side. And then find that exhale that draws everything back together. See if you can really kind of pin down the left side of your waist, but still find that expansion in your ribs. And every time you exhale, can you find a little more room to twist into your back? Can you take it up your spine? Can you take it up just one vertebrae? One more breath here, big inhale. Exhale, see if you can go a little further. And with your inhale, release it out. Legs in front. Go ahead and give yourself a little lift on a blanket here for this next one if you notice that you start to round a little bit as you come into forward bends. Otherwise, we're going to add on to our Dandasana and take it into Paschimottanasana, or just seated forward bend. So inhale, lift, rising onto my spine, exhale, and keeping my spine long as I come forward. As soon as I get to that point where I feel like, I have to round, then I might pause. If you're very bendy and you know you can take this further, then you have a little more options to work with. Otherwise, a great place to be is to just press your hands onto your legs and find that lift. Maybe you even work with your knees bent, finding that lift, and then work on slowly straightening. Wherever you're at, take another breath here. And then slowly come back up. Taking our twist to the left side. Left leg comes in, comes across. Left arm comes behind, presses away. Right arm reaches up and comes to either the outside of our knee or elbow to inside of knee. Finding that breath that expands your ribs out to the side. It makes so much fullness that you can feel the stretch along the back side of your ribs. And those exhales take you deeper. Once you get deeper, can you still find that expansion in your back ribs? A couple more breaths like this. Your next exhale, allow your inhale to bring you back to center. Then bring both your feet in towards each other, soles together, knees wide, coming into Baddha Konasana or bound angle. So I'm going to take a second here and I'm going to grab around my feet. And again, this is another position where you might want a little lift from a blanket. I'm going to lift out of my spine, find that length, allowing this kind of clasp around my feet to really pull my shoulders down. And with my exhale, I'm just going to tuck my chin a little bit. I'm not going to let my head fall forward, but I'm just going to lengthen my chin down and allow this to be this kind of subtle stretch that goes down the back of your neck. More breath here. And then if you want to add on, you can start to walk your hands out. And just let yourself relax into your Baddha Konasana. This is a great place to really find that expansion of your back ribs with your breath. See if with your breath here, you can really send it to these back ribs, allowing it to just stretch and open up. And allow your exhales here to be just releasing, soft and passive. One more breath. And come all the way back up. Find yourself on all fours. We're going to go into pigeon pose. So, if pigeon pose is not a pose that feels good in your body, some other options would be reclined pigeon, so on your back in here. Or you can even have your foot, on something in here. So, accommodate the pose to your body, not the other way around. Otherwise, bring your right leg forward. Bend your knee, bring it across. Start to come down into pigeon. So where your knee is, where your shin is, that all really depends on your body and your hips. And you just kind of play around with it and find a spot where it feels good, but it doesn't feel like you're just tugging into that hip joint unnecessarily. So wherever you're at, see if you can find an inhale to lengthen, and then an exhale to release. Maybe you walk your hands out. One more breath here. And slowly start to work your way back up and switch to the other side. So left leg comes in front, comes across, shift your way back. I like to start on my forearms because then I can find that lift and lengthen before I settle in. Walking my hands out. One more breath. And walk yourself back up. Swing your legs around. And slowly lower yourself down to the ground. Bringing your knees in for a second and giving yourself a hug. Lifting your head. Just giving yourself a big hug, pulling everything in before you let it all come out. Releasing into the ground, feet out wide, arms to your side, eyes closed. Settle into Shavasana, your final resting position. And it's here in Shavasana that we really start to integrate our practice. All the work we do doesn't mean much if we don't allow it time to be integrated into our body, if we don't allow ourselves recovery and down regulation. So allow this position of deep relaxation to be a place where you can drop all the tension you might be holding, all the worry, knowing that your body is supported by the earth, that your breath is serving you. Allow yourself a few more minutes in Shavasana. Just finding that deep relaxation. Using your breath to kind of scan your body and release all of it. Thank you for joining me. I hope that this finds you happy and healthy. And I hope to see you again practicing with me next week. Thank you. Namaste.